How's it going, everyone? It is Ethan on Koder, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Build Twitter. In this episode, we start doing some refactoring on our inputs. That way we can start grouping things together that are more alike, and also giving some more control to parent components rather than inside of those child components. We are going to be refactoring the text input, so let's go ahead and hop into the VS Code, and I'll show you guys what we're planning to do. Unfortunately, to use our global state for the register, we're going to have to go ahead and refactor some things, but the upside is that this is actually going to simplify a lot of things. So going back into here, let's go ahead and clear some things out. And we're actually going to go ahead and make a new component inside of our validated inputs called validated text input. And this is because we also went ahead and made a validated date selector.tsx. So we're going to kind of go with this theme moving forward for other things that we need as well, including our email. So we're going to go ahead and import all the stuff that we need. So import React from React. I'm going to also preemptively go ahead and grab use effect and use state, because I'm assuming we're probably going to need those. So use effect. State. So again, this is going to overall simplify things, even though we are going to be deprecating some of the stuff we already wrote. Go ahead and export const validated text input. This is going to be react.fc. This is still going to take in the validated. Actually, we need to make this, and it looks like I forgot to include this. So, oh, no, mine's right here. This is going to take in nothing for the time being. I'll fix it later. And this is going to equal to this and do one of these like so. Of course, we need to go ahead and return our div for the time being. And this might have a class name equal to validated dash text dash input. We'll deal with the CSS in a later video. So we are ready to go. Let's go ahead and set up some of our states. So const, we'll go ahead and say value, comma, set value. So instead of using an interface, I'm going to opt with just some of these instead, because I think it simplifies a little bit. So value is going to be empty to start, const border active. So this is kind of like a rewrite of the one we already have, but trust me, it's going to simplify things a little bit, so it's all good. Set border active, and this is going to equal to use state, and it's going to be a Boolean. All right, and this is going to start as false, I believe. We're going to have const, and this is going to be label active, and set label active, and this is going to equal to use state. This is going to be a Boolean, and this is going to start out as false. We're going to take a lot of the actual work out of this and actually hand it over to the parent, which will help out a lot later on. So use state, and by default this is just going to be gray. Cool quote. So there is that. Let's go ahead and actually start building out our application now, or our component. So we're going to have our styled input box like normal. Active is going to equal to border active. Our valid is going to come from some props. So for now, I'm just going to set this to true. And inside of our input box, we'll have our styled input label. And this is going to say color is equal to color. We'll figure out a simpler way to do that. Active is going to be label active. Whoops. Label active. And valid is going to equal to true for the time being. And then we are going to have our label in there. So again, this is not here yet, but I'm just going to say label. We'll add that later. Finally, we'll have our input class name equal to. This is going to be validated dash input dash value. And we're going to have some things here. So name, once again, is going to equal to name. This is going to be passed in later. We are going to say on focus is equal to, and we will set this up in a second as well. We're going to have on blur. Once again, we'll set this up in a second. And then finally, we are going to have on change equal to, and then once again, we'll set this up in a second. So this is going to look very, very similar to what we already have, but there's a reason why I'm doing this. It's going to help us out in the long run. And whenever we are trying to set some of this stuff up previously, it was causing a very, very complicated things that I didn't want to deal with. So I had written a lot of code previously, then I completely rewrote it because I didn't like how it was turning out and a bunch of other things. So this should be our best case here. Let's go ahead and set up our on focus, on blur, and on change. So again, this is still going to be very similar to what we had before. So we'll have our const focus, and this is going to equal to nothing. We don't need any, we don't need to worry about the event. And this is going to say set border active to not border active. Whoops, not border active, like so. Get rid of that thing that I just imported on accident. And then if we have a value, so if not value, we are going to say set label active equal to not label active. So if we don't have a value, we'll either turn the label active on and off, otherwise we won't. We'll also say const update is equal to, this one will take in a event, react.change event. This is going to come from an input element, HTML input element, like so. This is going to return a void. And what we'll do is say set value, and we'll set the value to e.target.value. Pretty simple stuff. We'll also console.log for the time being. We'll say send the info back to the dispatcher, which we'll set up in a little bit. And then we'll also say change value. So this also doesn't exist for the time being. We will set that up. Get rid of that actually for a second. And then we can go ahead and do a use effect. Use effect. And set this up. And this is going to watch our a couple things here. So this is going to watch value. This is going to watch border active. This is going to watch label active. And it's going to watch color. It's also going to watch valid later on, but we haven't passed valid yet. If we have a value, we are going to say set label active to true. And we probably should have checked if we've already set active before. If valid value and not label active, we'll set it true. And then once we've set label to true once, it should just stay there. Although, yeah, that should be fine. Next, we'll want to go ahead and set color. We're going to say determine validated text label, which we don't have yet. So again, I got ahead of myself. We're just going to leave this here and apply that later. So finally, we'll go ahead and for our label, we need to set up on focus. We'll go ahead and say focus. And then on blur will be focus. Then on change will be update. So there is that. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed, please stick around for the next episode by hitting that subscribe button. You'll know exactly when it comes out, especially with that bell icon. If you did enjoy the content today, please sure to leave a thumbs up. If you did enjoy it, leave a thumbs down. Either way, it helps out with the algorithm all the same. And finally, if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, make sure you leave a comment down below. With that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.